Good morning.
Good morning. I'm back.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, FYI. Good morning. It is Tuesday.
It is, believe it or not.
The 19th day of July.
Believe it or not.
Welcome.
Folks, I just have you know that all of our late mornings were just a Manza. We're always hoping she shows up. Holding as long as we can. Well, finally. Even a broken clock is right. So, we were right this morning.
Gosh, I missed it.
Right. Showers coming up.
Oh, my goodness.
She's here this morning.
Yes.
She is here this morning.
Back and in fully fit.
Believe it or not, we're so happy. We're so happy you've come by.
Yes.
We don't know how long, but and let us know if you hear Amanda clearly. Let us know if you hear us clearly. We want to trouble with the mic city, guys.
Let us know how you're hearing us, guys. We don't want any
Please and
distance.
thank you.
We don't want to hear any echoing. Once you're hearing us good, it will be okay. Let us know in the comment section.
And all who feel we shouldn't be on sipping tea and talking about international affairs and domestic issues, flap you. Flap you. Let's just get out to the bay one time. Flap you. Right. Fitzherbert Derek is joining us from Connecticut. Fitzherbert, good morning, sir.
I see Don Henry.
Man's going to do all the hard work this morning.
I don't mind. Joan Rigby. Miss Joan. Beatrice. Facebook user. Bernie is watching us. Beryl. Oh my God, I miss these names. Lauren Beach.
Once your name like Beryl, you can tell H2. You can tell
Warren Figueroa says good morning. Warren Facebook user says love you guys. We love
back to you.
Right.
We love back to you.
We put in the tea.
We love back to you.
I'm just wondering how long we were live.
Welcome back, Amanda. Welcome. You also discovered what happened before we were live.
It's good to be back, though.
Good to have you back.
I had to.
One time we thought you're American now.
No.
You're going full.
No, so I think it's important that I say, I had a sports injury. I lifted, I exercise, and I lifted badly.
Yep.
Sharon. No, anyway. But it resulted in me tearing my shoulder, so I was out of commission for a good couple of mornings. But I'm back and better.
So we don't need
we
don't need the Chief Justice to say whether you're a dual citizen or not.
Oh,
a lot of people go to national and put their hand in the Bible and tell us a story.
No, I am a Guyanese.
Good.
I am a Guyanese since you said silver, but no, it's good to be back. I had to. My doctor said, no, Amanda, you're going too much. You have to rest. And because it's my right arm and I'm right-handed, I had to chill out for a moment. Sometimes when you need rest, the good Lord has a way of arranging it.
It's true.
I had to take a minute, but I'm back.
We're happy.
The joy of some of the consternation about it.
We cannot confirm 99. We cannot confirm 99, but it's good to have you back, man. It's good to have you back. You smell like the States. You smell States. States. Yeah. Lime run a little couple of days. The shield and the glow girl, you come back. We're good to have you back. Good to be back. Yeah. Guys, how are you doing? Suriname is in the house, Carol, right? Carol, what's happening in Suriname? You've been out with the folks. Yeah. Some of which we're going to be talking about. As well. We hope you guys are great out there.
Roxy and Andrews. And
Is it Chow Pao I'm seeing there?
Chow Pao. These two coalitions, proper name.
These coalition ladies.
Did you reach out? Hi, Chow Pao. Hi. I hope you're good.
Sure, feeling all sorts of ways to the corner here.
Facebook says we so lively what you guys drinking there.
Yeah. We can't tell you because them boys are appetizing to we can't tell you. Right? But we were so kidding. Whatever it is, we just want to. We
were told one morning that's the guy needs over soak.
We over soak. Yeah.
No, it's true. I find it's true, but it is.
What is them like this tea bag? I can't give it. But the price of tea bags, you better over soak.
Get two
value. I'm gonna put it in the fridge. I got the tea bag and rest in the fridge for tomorrow. Chin Sing Henry says, "Look who's back. It's who? You call me like a whistle." Just say you call it like a whistle. It's who?
Oh,
Somebody's back. Susan Washington says, welcome back, Miss Samantha. I feel the hatred there, Miss Samantha.
Right?
I feel the hatred.
Auntie and those things, right?
I was going on and somebody said, big auntie, look, I feel it in my heart. I'm like, big auntie.
You know me there. You know me there.
I was in school.
Yes.
Jumping around, running around.
Yes, your head is high and your steps were swift. No.
Don't worry. Every time I celebrate my daughter's birthday, I realize that I'm a year older.
Yeah, getting up there. Speak for yourself. Or spring chicken.
Or will say she wanted if I brought that something for share it through.
Goodies. I done so many things. I don't know what helped. The honest to God.
Yeah.
Right? I was always 1 foot outside the death or to fully help. I don't know what worked, honestly. So many things people kept recommending. The last one, my mother-in-law did some molasses with some lime and something else with a concoction.
It wasn't good? No, but you see, no. I'm a country girl, so I believe in those remedies. What molasses? Listen, a container, and for those of you who grew up in the country, you could tell me. A container with molasses, honey, lime, nutmeg was always in the back of your fridge. So as soon as your mother goes in there.
Always carrying the bag there. That thing there. I'm still trying to recover. Right? But I find since my last birthday, like everything aching more. Like this morning, I had to be rubbing on some muscle. But yeah, it's like this. Everything kicking up now. Everything kicking up. But folks, we're happy that you guys are here. Gladstone Matthews and Oren Don, Cook and Michael Gittins, Deshaun Alexander. Man, help me call some of them.
Aubrey Leonard. Thank you. Welcome back, Aubrey.
Yeah.
And Simone Hooper.
Yeah.
Gladstone Matthews and Michael Gittins and Linda Baker.
Oh gosh, I tried to understand, Aubrey. I lost from
my last from
Blackly. Oh wow.
Lost Aubrey.
Majesty.
You see, she's back.
Yeah.
Sharon,
you know, let me tell you something.
Look, Will Dancer should tell you about the molasses and lime, but you don't listen. It's true, Sharon.
He doesn't listen.
Sharon different.
So when he was little stuff, yes, so Sharon, I have because I usually have like emergencies, those packets, because it gives you good boost, right? I said, Sharon, look, mix oil, Sharon.
Something else. That thing was something else.
Bernadette Craig, good morning.
But listen to me. I seen some of the compliments here, and it occurred to me.
It has occurred.
How that story in the Bible of the prodigal son has merit. Because I've been here all this time. I hear Black King and all these weird things. But the prodigal daughter has returned. And looks to, a coat of many colors and everything else,
You have been enjoying the
reading here and them trudging along,
Absence makes the heart.
Yeah, apparently.
You have to understand.
So good to be back.
Pinky Kerr and all the other folks, we invite you guys to share the live. You know how we do it? Smash that emoji button.
I found that the shares were a bit down though. We got to do better.
Yes, because you're missing. You're getting that.
To give the
I hope now that you're back.
Come on.
I hope now that you're back. Things will change drastically. We hope. You got to pull power. But we're going to make sure. Guys, make sure you share the live as the man is advocating. And you smash that emoji button first and you partner with us as well. All important things to keep us moving.
Typically male. Wait long to take little medicine.
You see that?
This is true.
I feel attacked now.
It is a thing.
I feel attacked.
We all got to be at death's door before you even say we're going to the...
Well, I was there, and I don't know if it's the sickness or was the cure.
That's what
I was there. I was right there.
Isabella Butter says good morning.
Yeah.
Adam Henry says yes. I love this. Diane Johnson says good morning, FYI family. Good morning, everyone. And let's know what the weather is like at your end.
Yeah, do let us know that.
It's been raining so unseasonably.
Cats and dogs. Yep, all who hear press can be very right.
I like the rain. I don't ever complain about the rain. I'm not so much of the heat. I don't know what's going on.
I don't do the heat either, but goodness, it's July. I mean,
so much for summer.
These are usually, the dry months. But
yeah. Them boys get it wrong. They say, since people come in, the weather pattern change. Since them boys come,
Lynn Fernandez,
I
good
want to
morning
cross
to you,
this,
Lynn.
but-
How are you doing over there? And our girl,
Is it
Chanel
family?
Smith Daniels in the house. Good morning.
Chanel is here. Good to have you,
Hey,
Chanel. Chanel, when you coming through, Chanel? We got back some people now.
Oh, Natalia says it's sweltering here in the UK. Yes, I was
Yeah,
reading
and we're gonna
the
touch on that
wave.
too. 103 something they're touching.
103.
You know, we're gonna be talking about that too. So tell us some more. Tell us some more,
Dylan
right?
says the jumpy board attacking.
Right? I think so.
Question arises.
Let's
Which
for that.
one?
Which one?
You took
There's so many.
You took
Which one of the birds?
Which one was jumpy boy?
Which one of the birds?
We're different. My
So many,
goodness.
but guys,
We should
guys,
go
thanks
to
for
the news
joining us.
before we get ourselves in
Thanks for
trouble.
joining us.
Yes.
Revenue, fantastic folks joining us.
Let's
Thanks
go
for
into
joining
the
us.
news.
All right, guys. I see Donna with noted comments, and I see Slow joining us out of Trinidad. Awesome to have you guys here with us this morning. We have a few things to go through morning papers before we get into what's brewing, guys. Before I sing, kudos to the GDF, the 29 soldiers who graduate in artillery support weapons course. Kudos to them. We always want to see our people doing well and making these strides. So
respect and manners.
that is one of the first things, another bit there on this is 2022. If you were following, especially when in the course of the debates in February, you will know that we were talking about the 2022 being the census year. And with that, the birth statistics is their training area coordinators for the census right now. So persons, you just be on the lookout at that specific time when persons are going to be coming around to do interviews and so forth with you guys. So this is something that particularly, I'm very much looking forward to the data coming out of this year's census. It's going to speak volume as to where we are as a country. Very, very pertinent information altogether. We'll be able to tie in so much to this because as of right now, the last budget in February, the only solid data you had was from the 2012 census, right? So you had to be going back, and we know that has to be updated so much. So we're anxiously awaiting the results there, especially when it comes. This is a population census altogether to see what is going on in our country.
So important,
absolutely important. So that's one of the things I want to say, and a bit of really, really disturbing news. I have to say that missing Madia woman was found dead in gruesome circumstances, guys, and we speak about the pandemics that have been affecting us, when it comes to our women being murdered and also the road carnage, and this is another morning we have to report. I have to say both of those, and they said the body of a woman who was reported missing in Madia region number 8 was found a day after her disappearance with metal objects in her abdomen. And this is as far as I want to talk about the gruesome nature of this thus far. The investigations is going to be ongoing, but the murdered woman has been identified as 55-year-old Nariman Latifan of Bakdam Madia, also known as Lima Dam.
Wow.
It is absolutely
We've
crazy.
seen a number of women in that area, in interior locations in general, and our thoughts and prayers go to that community and her family.
Yeah, well, but I did note the report is saying that that her reputed husband said he left her at home and he went to work some 25 minutes away from where they live. When he returned home about 3 p.m., he alleged that he saw someone peeping at him from behind the house. Paying no heed, he made his way into the house, and as he entered, he called out for his reputed wife, but received no answer. So a lot of investigation. I know it's going to be going into this specific matter, but as it is right now, very, very, very gruesome information coming out of this particular matter.
It's so disturbing.
It's very disturbing.
So disturbing. There seems to be this trend of women being murdered in the mining areas. I recall at least 3 to 4 cases already.
Correct.
For the year, 17-year-old and 19-year-old. So it clearly spans the age range. There's something going on there that I think.
Yep.
The Ministry of Human Services, they really do need to take an interest as well as law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, and as we go a little further, guys, like I just said, the two main things that we've been talking about is the accidents in road carnage altogether, and we've seen a charity Goldsmith actually died yesterday in an accident there. Lorenzo Hendricks, very very sad news there. 25-year-old lost his
Wow.
life there in an
Wow.
accident. So our thoughts and prayers are with both family members of these two individuals,
Mm-hmm.
both Lorenzo and the woman that
Wow.
lost her life there in Madia. We are tremendously saddened to have to be speaking about these matters this morning. We say to those folks that's using the roadway, again, we give the caution, be careful.
Yeah.
Be very, very careful as to how you're utilizing the roadways. It is we have been losing too many lives.
Yeah.
I always say it, in a country of less than a million people. Well, we
Care
we
and
have
caution and all
we
those
have a
things are
lot
still
we have a
very
lot at
relevant.
stake when it comes to our human resource. We don't want to be losing the lives of young people or anyone at all.
Yeah, it's we say arrive alive. It's really very important that we pay attention and exercise the 5 C's when using the road. You know, it's important that we get back to our families and to our loved ones. So slow down, please.
Most definitely, guys. And when we're moving off of what is going on in the morning papers, we're looking at the morning brew, guys. And regionally, a lot has been happening at the regional level. And Amanda, I know that particularly you come to mind when we're dealing with any matter of international affairs and so forth. And we're looking at the Suriname president is set to have canceled trips following protests there over in Suriname. And guys, you have been following all that has been happening in Suriname. Yesterday a lot of discussion was had on this. Our affiliate program carried a lot of the footage. Also, we're going to be playing some of that for you. But Amanda, this comes after all that happened in Sri Lanka.
It's very interesting to see the trend
Mm-hmm.
that is happening across the world in terms of people and populations expressing their displeasure at the actions of their government.
Yeah.
I keep saying that civil disobedience is a legitimate form of expressing your displeasure, and it's very heartening to see united people demanding more of a government.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I noticed
Yep.
no less a person than Clement Rohi
Wow. That's interesting. Yeah.
asking Guyanese to take note.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it is lost on Mr. Rohi that the exact things he was asking Guyanese to stand in solidarity with Sri Lanka with are the exact things
Correct.
that Guyanese are being
Correct.
afflicted with here.
Correct.
And I don't know if it is subtle way of saying, Guyanese,
Mhm.
need
I
That was
think
a
that's
wink.
what
It
it
was a
was.
wink.
It's a wink. I think so. I think it was a
wink.
wink. I think it was a wink.
He's
That
trying
we
to make
need- that
things
we
right.
need to get it together.
Yeah.
We need to get together as a people and to demand more. To me, it is disturbing to hear Ashmi Singh say that we are monitoring the situation with the cost of living, and they're not getting in there and intervening and bringing meaningful relief. How do you monitor whilst your people go hungry?
Correct. Correct.
It doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to me. And so, Suriname is doing it, and you look in the streets and you see people from all walks of life, from all races in the streets together, fighting for a
Yeah.
better standard of living. But
But I always say it, we have to realize that we need to stop seeing struggles and things like that as affecting only one particular race. And I said it, I think the message needs to be sent out very, very clearly that it benefits the PPP administration to make sure that that clear line is drawn down the middle. It benefits them because they know they cannot deal collectively with everyone standing up and say we deserve better. So they go down that line of separation of the races and so forth. But I always tell people, and like you rightly see, the photos there speak volume, that everybody is there. They're going out because they realize the economic standard that they are forced to live in is not something that they're comfortable with. And we have to realize that that there's a bigger issue other than race, and that is when it comes to class. And the fact that if you once you are in that lower class bracket, you're all treated with absolute disrespect by this administration. And people, once persons understand that and they collectively put their voices together, we will see a change.
Yep. No, Dorothy, you're absolutely correct. I think once we as Guyanese, from whatever race, decided we are addressing this race issue and that it can no longer be a trigger for us.
Correct.
This government will get into shape very, very quickly. But they do this thing deliberately. They you see, subliminally they acknowledge our racial and ethnic insecurities that we have. And instead of doing and taking actions to alleviate it, they exploit it.
Yeah.
And then they want to say, when you talk about race, that you are racist.
Yeah.
We're
Kind
going
of
to talk
wickedness.
about race wholly.
Kind of wickedness.
Because when we break the back of that thing called racism, then is when you're going to see Guyanese demanding a better. Look at Suriname. Suriname has a diverse range of ethnicities, but the people realize that they are stronger together. And so very often governments in Suriname are a coalition because the people are of the mindset that you all had better work together if you want to get into government, but not us. And you know, it is sad that the PPP preaches one thing in public, but when you listen to their bottom house meetings,
Correct.
it is some of the rankest racism that you will ever hear.
You know, interesting that you mentioned that about your government, because guys, yesterday I spoke about the fact that and when I was talking about parliamentary sit-ins being something that is planned way in advance, and I said that is something that was brought out at the level of the CPA, you know, the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, that session that was held at the conference center here. One of the things that I learned even there is that the representative from Suriname, the parliamentarian that was there from Suriname, she was telling us in a conversation, one-on-one conversation, you know, she said to me that, you know, they don't have this straight divisiveness when it comes to their parliament. She said, once you're a parliamentarian, all of you are treated the same way. She said parliamentarians there in Suriname, everyone, whether not your government or opposition, you travel with diplomatic passports and so forth. She found it crazy that we have a system in our country that members of parliament, because they're on the opposition side, are not afforded that same level of respect as the ones that are sitting in the seat of government, right?
It is only happening here.
Yeah.
Because when you talk with the other Caribbean countries,
yeah,
they're like, what? Y'all don't. But again, it speaks to the level of maturity of our politics, and that we have. And this is something that happens on both sides of the political divide, and we can be very honest about that. That we have a system of crushing the opposition, and in political play there is a place for that.
Yeah.
It's a healthy competition, but for some reason there is such a level of poison injected into our system,
acrimony,
and vitriol and acrimony that. You know, we fail to stop seeing each other as human beings. And there's this rancor. And the people of Guyana continue to be the poorer for it.
You know, on an allied issue, Starbuck News referring to the PPP's decision not to allow, at that time, the outgoing chairman of the National Insurance Council to speak at last week's event, called it small-mindedness, and some of that is what seeps in to the politics from time to time, and it's real small-mindedness. You rightfully said, you know, there is room for competition and all that goes with that, but to go beyond that and to try to slide the other side at every turn, which is what this government does, at every turn, to give you no room and no space, you know, that is quite something else. And then they come and then they shout over a democratic nation.
Especially when it comes to regional representatives, I believe in National Assembly, you know, that's the next level, because that's the people of the country deciding specifically that we want this region was won by a particular party, and then the regional representative in National Assembly is not given the resources to actually go and do the work there. So it's a lot, but the man is rightly saying, you know, you have to take look at it in totality, and everyone has to realize that in order to move forward, everybody needs to have this, or both sides need to make this decision as to how you move
As to
forward.
how you move forward.
Yeah.
Because, I'm sitting here and I'm remembering the Attorney General had a lot to say about, an effective opposition. I don't know how that is going for him given his streak in the courts recently, but that is another story. The issue is you cannot have an effective opposition if they are under-resourced. You have an office of the First Lady that has been given a larger budget than the office of the opposition leader.
To go shopping in New York.
And before the trolls and the things that, y'all just interested in money, you must sit down and think that a strong opposition is important for you.
Very well.
It's
Very
important
well.
for you. I mean, if you're serious about developing a country, a strong opposition is important for you. A strong opposition means that you have to be well resourced. There's no running around it.
Yeah.
And they're like, talking about money. Then you all don't talk about money.
Yeah.
If it's not so important.
The folks who come in Thursday for money?
The folks who come in Thursday for money.
Not to talk about money?
And so this is where and this is why programs like these are important, because we have to continue to speak to people, because as we say, informed citizens make informed decisions.
Correct.
So, we got to get it together, Sri Lanka and Suriname.
Yeah. I think we have some of that footage coming out of Suriname, and we want to show that to folks. I think we have it. Apologies there. Yep, but that's some of what is transpiring in Suriname. I think there's going to be more of it. I saw some reporting that the guys are aiming at cabinet. They can disrupt cabinet. Disrupt this status quo.
But the cries are the cries that you're hearing from the Sri Lankans, the cries that you're hearing from the folks in Suriname, and we as Guyanese, we can relate, and that is the honest truth of the matter. I know I am looking at some of the translation of some of the comments that was coming out of some of the protesters. They said, look what's happening now. Look at what is happening now. There are no money for medicine. Babies are dying in this country, but persons have millions of dollars to go to Dubai. These are some of the comments that are coming out from those protesters there.
In Suriname, that's what's going.
That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you.
That's knowing.
The name of, and just switch countries.
That's what's very knowing there.
But look, by God, these are the things that bring the people out into the street. And we have a vice president caught in the middle of scandal and does not have the dignity to remove himself and allow for an investigation.
Yeah.
And
that's where we are, unfortunately.
Just blatantly disrespecting Guyanese citizens with their comments that they're making as to how that they're treating with that.
Yeah.
Let the relevant people do the investigation. What the hell?
What the hell? People?
That's where we are. Unfortunately, before we kind of ran ahead of ourselves a little bit there, and I wanna pull us back because we're supposed to be here. We're supposed to be starting here. But nonetheless, we're talking early on about what's happening in the UK and these record high temperatures, right? I mean, 104 degrees Fahrenheit is pretty hot, right? 40 degrees Celsius is pretty hot. That's just some of what is happening on that front there.
And the thing about it is that you're seeing, and this is why I often am concerned when people talk about, there's no climate change and this is not real.
Yeah.
But we are living through phenomena that we have never seen before in our lifetime. And so there's definitely something amiss. There's definitely something going on. And we have to pay attention to these things.
Please and thank you.
Because when was the last time we heard about wildfires across Europe? It's concerning.
Lots happening. Nonetheless, and we're going to continue to follow on that front.
Yep.
What else we got, Rita?
Well,
You're just queuing us in.
on the local front, guys, believe it or not, the police using body cameras.
Uh-huh.
The police are using body cameras.
Was there any for that Quinn and Bacchus operation?
The police are using
body
body cameras,
Interesting.
Mr. Duncan.
Yeah. The notation is off. Right. Notation is off.
All right. So, while it says here that while it presents some challenges to operate even after training is conducted, right? Portable video recording, also called body cameras, are being used by ranks of the Ghana Police Force and the Region 4B commander related how the device helped clarify matters in one case where a complaint has been raised. But what is very interesting, I believe, is that it says that Starbrook News recently, we're taking directly out of Starbrook News here, Starbrook News recently spoke with a number of senior police officers, including divisional commanders, who related that all 12 of the policing divisions have body cameras.
Wow.
Did we notice?
Nice to know. It's amazing way directing to this country. By the way.
I don't understand a particular, I don't understand when this happened. When does this happen?
Mm-hmm. The policeman in the supermarket at Paradise with the chocolate.
That's what
He was wearing one?
No. So every time a police officer stops you and they're asking you to leave something, they have cameras on. I don't know.
You got the on button. You got the on button. You definitely have an on button.
It's interesting, right?
Very much so.
I support
body cameras. Who knew? Body cameras.
I support the steps of actually having, obviously, body cameras used. I believe that police vehicles need to be completely equipped with cameras, and police always should have body cameras on, because it's going to take away a lot from the level of corruption, that the chaplain was praying about.
Yeah. Lots of things happening, folks. Body cameras. FYI for information.
That's good.
I want to personally check to see if they have.
No, I've encountered policemen with body cameras. I've encountered policemen who seem to think that they need to follow you and flash your vehicle with their cell phone cameras.
Yeah.
I was speaking about that yesterday. That the fact even when there's protests here, that there are ranks of the police force that are out there taking pictures with every single protester that is there, and I don't know where in the law it provides for that.
Actually, your name and
I don't know,
and they take your photograph and so forth. But while that is happening, quite interestingly, we're seeing some other stuff happening on the East Bank. The folks at Houston, they're taking it easy to this proposed radioactive storage facility there, and they've actually been now decided to take the EPA and Schlumberger to court. Well,
yeah.
Yes. But again, the strength of your institution. The strength of your institution.
The fact you got to take EPA to court.
If you have to do this says that somebody is not doing their job somewhere.
Yeah, but kudos to the Houston residents for actually taking this initiative, because these are these are extremely serious things when you talk about radioactive equipment and stuff like
house, carried by Prodigal 3 and 4 and so on. Carried to those places, you will see very, very quickly. I know our biggest youth this morning focuses on injustice. And this is some of that. In some areas, you won't even have to ask. You just would not go there. But you know what? In some other places, you got to beg for your rights to be recognized.
We have a lot. I believe there is. The EPA needs to really check on a lot of these particular matters, because when I read this, one of the things that came to my mind is the fact that there are so many transmitting stations you would find throughout, like Region 4 in particular, Georgetown in particular, that have so many stations to do this, and the actual equipment that these things utilize they have specific dimensions that they have to be away from people because of the radiation that it gives off and all of that. So people need to be very, very careful. And this particular facility, I see the need here for the residents to be doing what they're doing, because the EPA is supposed to be protecting.
Correct.
This is
correct.
residents.
As the name suggests, as the name suggests.
Environment protection, exactly. They're supposed to be
protecting. They do everything else back.
EPA should be the one that is holding these companies at bay when it comes to what they could or could not do, because EPA is supposed to be standing there as the guardrail when it comes to your health and well-being and what right. The EPA now is being sued.
but again, guys, this is just indicative of just a complete breakdown of law, of order, of our institutions. The EPA has had perhaps its most qualified head since its existence, in the person of Dr. Vincent Adams. And one of their first orders of business was to fire him and replace him with somebody who had been fired from the agency before.
The different.
It is, and you know.
You're talking about GPL?
I'm talking. Not you see. It's several institutions. You check across these sectors, you will see that competent professionals have been replaced with people who were either fired for incompetence, for corruption, for thieving money, all of these things. Now, the EPA, which plays such a significant role, the capacity is decimated. The capacity has been, and this is what we talk about, the attack on our institutions.
Well, I'm happy you mentioned that, because I want to talk about two things there. One, Julia mentioned earlier on about some of the specifications for the kind of transmission equipment you have in the city and all that. And that piece of real estate that runs parallel to Lamha Avenue, in the center there, where people used to squat. Those people were moved from there because of a certain issue they say might occur there. And there's some huge power lines that run overhead that might emit radiation and all of that and such and so forth. And now, do you know they've built a safe zone park down at the end, the Camp Street end of it, between Camp and Lamaha Street. They've built a quote-unquote safe zone, a safe space with all of that electrical wire running. And this is industrial stuff that runs overhead there with all of that. And I've saw persons raise that several times in the media that is not really a safe space.
It's a hazardous space.
It's a hazardous space in that regard. And we covered right here a couple mornings ago a student who was robbed on Wolford Avenue. Some students coming from Critchlow Labour College, and one of the things we said, if only they were a little further down the avenue to the Camp Street end and were able to access a safe space, maybe that could have been prevented.
But guys, isn't this indicative of a bigger issue? That there is absolutely no proper planning.
And you did mention earlier on, as we segue into the other thing we want to focus on, the breakdown of these institutions, because that is what we see when Anand Gulsaran has been calling for the appointment of a commission into the allegations concerning what Vice News has put out there, in which the person of the vice president is the linchpin, the kingpin in all of it. And here is Anand Gulsaran, a former Auditor General in this country. Middle of the road guys, don't know his politics, a professional through and through, is saying that these issues raised in this thing deserves an investigation. And in our segment where we talk about what he or she said, we focus on this because Anand Gulsaran writes a column for Santa Cruz called Accountability Watch. And here's what he said, coming back to what you said, Amanda. He said that considering the scale of the alleged money laundering activities in the Vice News piece, the lack of capacity of these and other watchdog organized agencies, and the reporting relationships, and three, the less than impressive track record in dealing conjointly with issues relating to corruption in government, the president should instead appoint a commission of inquiry to look into the allegations. Here is he talking about the lack of capacity in the organization should be watchdogs, like the EPA. and other such organizations, right? The lack of capacity, now you got to go internationally. He goes on to say finally that depending on the outcome of the inquiry, an international investigative agency selected with the assistance of the United Nations should undertake this assignment. We don't even have the capacity locally because so many people will be implicated in this whole thing here. And that's what he said this morning.
And he is right. I would say that we need an international investigative agency from the beginning because we live in Guyana and we are very aware of how polarized our society is along political lines.
Correct.
Even the public sector is politicized. And so I am not sure that we will have the capacity locally for an impartial investigation, or at least an investigation where the investigators are free from fear and, quote unquote, pressure.
Yeah.
But this is serious. I was a bit disheartened to see that the vice president, in the face of these allegations, would be going around like it's business as usual.
Yes.
I was a bit disappointed to see the association of the diplomatic community and the not attempting to put distance between themselves and himself in the face of these allegations. Because I would say very clearly, Sharon, that if it was you, if it was me, if it was Jaretta, or if it was anybody on the opposition side, the whole of Guyana would have come down with a hue and a cry, because we tend to be very hard on ourselves too.
Correct.
So it would have been our people plus the other side
Correct.
on our case.
Correct.
But you do not see that. Instead, what you see is a glorification of this skullduggery.
Yeah.
It is as if, yes, he's out there in your face and he all take when they don't even realize that they're saying you take to yourself.
Correct.
Because to the extent that you condone this level of foolishness.
Yeah. Corruption aside, he's a good man.
Yeah. He's the man for them. He's the man for who?
Mayhem aside, Moderation was a good concert.
No, but you see, what beyond also we call good
Corruption
evil
aside.
and evil good.
Yeah.
And that is the part that we are heading down as a nation.
Yeah.
These people are bad for Guyana, but they are able to thrive because they know that they have pushed this ethnic thing so far that a couple of things will happen. One, they'll be able to prey on ethnic insecurity, and two, they control through fear and domination, even their own. And unless we start talking about these issues and unless we start facing them head on, we are going to be here for another 20 years. And I do not intend to waste 20 years of my life going around this mulberry bush. I don't know about other Guyanese. We have to get serious about our development.
Very much so. Very much so. And, as we consider that this morning, another Aaron Goldfriend said, I support that. And I heard a man say the same thing Jarita does too. That international investigation, that is what is needed, because the level of corruption here, I had never heard but Sue prior to that.
Sherrod, hold on. You realize that these banners are moving 400 to 500,000 US a day.
Yeah.
In a pandemic.
Yeah.
That is what the vice specialty reveals, the special reveals.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about that.
And we've been talking here about how business is done when you think that it's you going your nice self and carrying in your stuff and so on, and your nice business proposal, you go invest office and you ask to see that Jacobad there and so on. This is how you can get through. You
are in the wrong place.
Wrong place.
Wrong place.
There's living rooms.
You need to be on these
right? It's retreats up the Demerara River and so on. Right? Those are where the big deals are being made. Oh, you don't have money to front here? No, you put it in a bank account so we can release the money here plus 15%, of which the Jacobad can get at 7 or so on, and the rest can bust up because he got all support.
All. So he gets all the support. This is serious and
very serious.
This is an issue that we have to keep on the front burner. We got to keep this issue on the front burner because it continues to be a problem for us. as Guyanese.
Yep.
We simply must. It cannot be business as usual.
Definitely can. And this takes us now into the big issue this morning, where we're focusing on. It's justice blind in this country. You know, justice is supposed to be blind, man. I think that's what you learned when you're studying law, the way you go on to do. You did your LLB, your LEC, your masters and all of those things. You think that justice is blind, right? You think there's a level playing field where justice and other things is concerned. But it's not so much. It's not so much in this country, because we recently learned of this man's story, Justin John, 9 years on remand. Manza, in this country, think somebody to talk for you, to represent you, you know, to sponsor you. Were you there? He said nobody came to visit him because he's from the Rupununi.
Can you imagine?
So his family don't have ready access to come to Georgetown and to put up a hotel and stuff. Nobody came to visit him, right? He was unrepresented because, you know why? He poor. He ain't got the money. And even that, the justice system flagged. Because you could have an attorney provided for you. You're supposed to. By the state, 9 years, this gentleman languished, Justin John, on remand. Begs the question, how many more?
That's not 9 days, that's 9 years.
How many more?
9 years.
And you know what?
There are a lot more. There are many more Mr. Johns in our prison system. We have to have such, you know.
And you know what is frightening in this case? That a few years ago, the Chief Justice herself raised this issue, asked for this matter to be put on the assize, the cases that were going to be considered, give the Director of Public Prosecution some directives. The magistrate dealing with the matter erred several times by not looking at it the way I think the DPP had directed. The DPP had a lot of failings too. It was top to bottom failing of the justice system. From 2003, this man has been on remand.
Yeah.
Came before the court several times. And you know what the DPP revealed quite recently? That he was never, indicted for murder.
Yeah.
Never indicted for murder.
I trust that Mr. John gets a good attorney and sues the crap out of the state.
Yeah.
Because jail is not an easy, prison is not an easy experience.
Yeah.
And to be there for 9 years.
Prison is not a bed of roses.
At the
Criminal
mercy of
says.
the system, to me, is inconceivable. But again, we are building a society, Sheridan Jaretta. We are building a nation. And social justice and the legal system and all of these things are issues that we have to tackle. We cannot keep this being at each other's throats.
It's madness.
It's maddening.
It's madness. You know, Amanza, I want to say, Andrita, I want to this is Judge Sandil Soon. And he said several things while looking at it. He said, what has transpired here with Mr. Justin John is unthinkable. He says it's a grave tragedy. How many of our people languishing in prison, right? In unthinkable ways, in tragic ways because of failure of the justice system. Justice Kisoon says his fundamental rights under Article 144.1 of the Constitution was violated. Can you imagine that?
And you know, I can imagine. And it's unfortunate that Justice Kisoon had to come to the conclusion that it is unthinkable. Respectfully, it might have been unthinkable for him.
Yeah.
But this is the reality of a number of people in the system.
And
poor people who may not have money to retain the top shot lawyers and so on. This is where, Sherrod, something like a civil rights and justice organization is important, because this case is the second or third such as has come up in recent times.
Something like legal aid?
Right? A properly funded legal aid, I might add.
Yeah.
Where you can take a look across the prison system and look at these cases and fast track them so that the people have their day in court.
And Amanda, twice the attorney asked to be fast track. That's how he ended up before the Chief Justice a couple of years ago. And fast track 9 years later. We look at the fast track in Amanda. You know the question I want to ask.
But there certainly is room then for a group of advocates. And this is why civil society is so important.
Plays an important role.
They're a balancing element in our society. And they have to step up the human rights, the Human Rights Association. This is something that I would strongly recommend. That they seek international funding to do a survey of how many more men and women like Mr.
That is the thing.
In our system.
Languishing.
Just
unthinkable.
Well, actually,
tragedy.
You guys are speaking about it, and I know that sometime back, but I'm not finding my notation on it, that we did speak about the system of remand and the fact that we need to have a complete overhaul of what is going on there. And we mentioned a few countries and give an example as to how long they are allowed to keep a prisoner on remand. But we are our system here is chaotic, to say the least, when it comes to remand. But I just want to point out, a bit of the one I can point it right now is in England. I know back in last year, there were some talks about prisoners being in England being held beyond the legal time for remand, and a bit of reporting came out that said in September, this is in 2020, that the government had extended the custody time limit. They had extended it, and the amount of time that someone can be held on remand. And guys, that was extended from 6 months to 8 months.
9 years here, and that might be a small time.
6 months. They were at 6 months, and then they extended it to 8 months. And this is something, and that was a big issue there, But here we have somebody that has been in prison. And where, there's no time. I think that this is when the system works, you would see persons being given the opportunity now, a fair chance to go and to actually sue these people for this blatant injustice.
I don't know if even suing people, they got a $6 million or $10 million. How do you get back 9 years of your life?
But in the US, but Sharon,
how do you unexperience some of the things you experience in prison?
We get that. But in the US, and I want to give this example, in the US, there are several stories that you can look at. And when persons go back to cases and so on, they even persons that were convicted, when they go back and they look at whatever, if they found that the state erred in any way in causing someone to be wrongfully convicted, they don't wait for somebody to come and sue them, They offer that or a compensation for what has happened to you and so forth. But we need to get to a level. When we talk about democracy and all of that, democracy has to function in a way that it protects and serves everyone, right? And
that's why justice is supposed to be building.
Exactly.
That's right. And I want to ask some questions because I know you ladies brighter than I am. I mean, I followed my master's program where I take a leave of absence to do this job. Definitely brighter than I am, But I know in this report out of Sabbath News, which has been doing great work in this front, they talk about the failings of the DPP's office in this regard. And I wonder how a man could be on remand for 9 years, not indicted. But soon as the government changed, people who were charged could get their charge dropped by DPP. No reasons given, right? Where's the justice in this country? No reasons given. The whole set of people with credible, the High Court said in this case now, you got credible issues to be tried here. Right? They could have their charges dropped, but a man with no influence, no money, could be languishing. It's an upside down society we have.
And we continue by our failing to speak up about it, to promote that upside down society. I cannot stress enough, Sharon and Jaretta, that we really are at the fork in the road,
Yep.
Guyana is at the fork in the road, and it's either we decide we can continue down the slippery slope, or people of Guyana are going to check themselves and say, you know what, this is damn stripping. Enough is enough. And us as political leaders, decide, well, whatever the hell. They're going to say what they want, they're going to castigate you, they're going to say all manner of things about you, but we will continue to speak and to represent. At some point in time, I stopped and I spent some time in the US recently, and I was reflecting on the civil rights movement. And I was reflecting on just how duplicitous some of us can be, in that a lot of people, a lot of Guyanese of Afro and Indo descent go to the US and they benefit from the civil rights movement. The movement that was driven by people like Martin Luther King and allies and so on. But yet they sit there and they condone.
But let me throw some other things
they
in.
benefit. The very things that people like Martin Luther King marched against. Things like affirmative action. They sit in these countries and they benefit from it, but they promote division at home.
Let me throw a couple of things out there. Yesterday, via Village Voice, they have been tracking the promises that were made to Buxton a few weeks ago and the reality to date. We talk about justice brought in this country.
I'm going to come to that.
You could see a man who had his Belanje taken away be compensated by before the sun goes down, and 7 ministers going to Buxton to give them a basketball hoop and what do you call it? Lawnmower. Right? They got no money, but in other villages, right? Catch grants sharing out like this. But in Buxton, they gotta wait. And I don't want to forget, man, because you were there. Just yesterday, we were looking at the 3 young men who lost their lives in Linden, protesting for what? That the electricity tariff is not raised. That's what's going to cause them the debt, That's the difference between life and death in Guyana. You got all the villages, you could run the police with cutlass, beat up a policewoman. Right? Nobody's ever sought out, for justice. But in other places, you dare not. I saw 16 persons hauled before the court recently, right? For crimes no less than what were, perpetrated other places when police were run out of a community. A policewoman was running for her life, having been assaulted by that village. Where is justice in this country? These things confront us as we think about one Guyana, and what does that mean? When the people of Linden met to commemorate, and grieve for their dead yesterday, what did one Guyana mean to them? I didn't see anybody from the government there. Did we have a representative too?
No.
Oh.
But Sharon and Joretta says this, and I think we often miss it when she says it. You don't think the PPP knows that when they do this, it boils the blood of some sections of Guyanese society? They know, and that is why they do it.
Say blood got to boil.
No. You understand? They know that if we selectively respond to, and this is, the reality is that our politics is cut down along ethnic lines. There's no if or but or sugarcoating it. Stark division along ethnic lines. The PPP manipulates us, and we have to stop falling prey to their manipulation. They do it because they know that they will get a certain reaction. They give the fisher folk compensation, but they don't give vendors. And when the vendors speak up, because the vendors are from a particular, by and large, in some areas of a particular ethnic majority, and I use this for an example only. They go back to the fish folk and see, say, they know why y'all get. That is the playbook of the PPP, and we have to stop falling prey. These are not smart people, but what they do is that they are ruthless in exploiting our ethnic insecurity, and that is why what they do. So we can sit here, all 3 of us, and talk all day about to give this body and then give the body, and that is what they want. What we have to continue to say to our people is don't be fooled. What we got to say to the people at Monrepo,
don't be fooled.
You don't be fooled. Because when they come and they give you $200,000 for 5 pillory and 2 egg ball in a glass case.
Mm-hmm.
What they're doing is making you a target by giving Sherrod and not giving Jaretta. And Jaretta don't have any.
Yeah.
Jaretta don't come for what is Sherrod's.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you perpetuate a cycle of seeming ethnic tension and hate. Whereas if Sherrod were smart, what Sherrod would do is say, listen, you give me 200,000, but look, make sure you get Jaretta because I ain't able to come and stress me out. I ain't able to come and rob me in the night. I want to be able to sleep in peace, me and my family. So make sure Jaretta gets your thing too because and that is the type of discussions we have to have with our people.
And the other thing I want to throw on the table is, for instance, what do we say to our indigenous brothers and sisters, you know, who had a national two-shows conference quite recently that the PPP hijacked? And we spoke earlier of them not even wanting the outgoing executives to play any role. And just read Starbuck News yesterday and I think this morning, they've dedicated editorials to this, talking about that. And that's only the two-shows council. In the villages, you know, we've been chronicling them here. Wiki Kalkuni, Horuru, Isanuru, you name it, Chinese landing. Could you imagine international bodies hand down a decision? What you're doing there is violating the human rights of the indigenous people. This government don't even care.
I want to actually add
They've been
something.
begging them to come and meet with them to talk about how they're going to resolve this, you know.
Yeah, and there's a lot for us to speak on that matter, but I want to add something to what Amanda was just speaking about, the fact that they're giving, they want to give to one side, they want to show, they want to give the impression to people who they deem their support base that we got you, right? But I want to add to that, you know, a video was circulated very recently with none other than the CEO of Gaisuko there. Sis Narayan Singh. And his words are very instructive, I have to say, what he used, because one of the things that you must never miss is that once they give you something, they expect gratefulness. They expect that you're going to look at them like, oh, thank you so much, my Lord.
Don't be any macaron.
You know, you can't critique anything that they do. If they come and pass by you and drop a 25,000, then how dare you complain if you are not getting proper health care, proper education? How dare you complain if your road is not done? Like, you forget we give you 25,000, right? And I say it all the time, you know, you must not at any point in time let the PPP administration believe that these bits of handouts, especially when it comes to cash handout that they're given, should be something that muzzles you, muzzle that particular group of people. But I want to say, you know, I have my own ideas as to, based on trends that I've been seeing from previous years in our country, as to the demographic and the demographic mix of Guyana right now. I'm super excited, you know, about what I mentioned earlier, the fact that we have a census this year, because it's going to be very definitive as to how government operate thereafter. And I kid you not, I mean, when the results of the 2022 census is out there, you're going to understand further what I'm talking about. But there have been a sort of demographic shift within our country and a pattern that derived up until 2012. Right? And we will see, and you will further understand why we say all that we say. The people may operate a whole lot differently after that, but it is within their DNA to believe that let us push this race issue as opposed to any other issue, because they believe that that's how they benefit at that level. And I have to say that as good students of economics, you know, we deal with statistics and numbers and all of that. We have to know, and we have to call a spade when we see the way in which the PPP is operating. We have to be very much so informing the citizens out there of why it is being done. And we need to let persons know that we are living in a country that it's no if or but. Every single voice counts. Every single last one counts. And you're going to see those numbers. It's going to come out, and I'm going to explain it better for you when that time comes. But you need to understand, you need to get it very, very thick in your head that any bit of silence on your part is a positive to what they're doing.
To oppression.
Yes.
And that is so important, because very often we sit and we say, but I'm one person.
Yeah.
I don't have influence.
You
But
do.
the fact is that whether you have $2 million or you have one, you have one vote.
Correct.
And that is
Correct.
your most powerful and
Correct.
most, outside of death, it is the most powerful and most equalizing
Yeah.
thing in
Yeah.
existence. Your vote, one man, one vote. And you see this point Joretta makes about the numbers is super important. And it's going to tie into something that the National Security Advisor was
My God.
talking about.
I can't wait for
But
it.
we hadn't done this program. I don't know if we're gonna get to
Yeah.
it, but it speaks to. No, I'm not as optimistic as you are that they will change their modus operandi.
I think they will be forced.
Make it
Because
work.
to me,
Make it work.
they are one trick pony.
Yeah. You know,
One trick pony. They don't know anything else.
Anything else than oppression and division, and it is in their DNA. And so Jack Dio and the PPP cabal at Freedom House simply use their supporters and manipulate them so that people like Sue can continue to get all of the support.
You know, I as Rita was talking about demographics and you talking about the numbers, I remember recently seeing an ad in the paper. I know we're a country of 6 people, but I saw one company asking for Latinos only.
So
the disrespect is real.
Latinos only.
But when people believe that
Latinos
they're in
only.
a country, they're operating in a country where even the government disrespect the people, then they believe that they could disrespect the people too.
And it is symptomatic of what we have been warning about, that whilst we fight
amongst ourselves, Latinos only,
the people are coming in. And mind you,
I have a swing
like
to this.
Guyana that are in a development mode, we will necessarily have to import labor at some point in time.
Yeah.
But what the government lacks is a proper immigration policy.
Yeah. But with that, Amanza, as you talk about immigration policy and proper immigration policy, in some countries you could only go and get the work if a native can't do it.
Precisely.
So to deal cards at the table, you're telling me Latinos got to be
The
imported?
people said they wanted.
that?
Let me read from this thing, man. Come on.
We live in
The
it.
people said that the company is seeking, and I'm willfully not calling the name here, is seeking suitable qualified person.
Princess Casino, you get in the news.
I don't want to give them. They don't pay. They don't give us any
Let's see what it says.
No, I don't want to buy it. Say, I don't know these people got a casino. Anyway, they're seeking qualified persons to fill the position of table game dealers, right? The requirements is what's interesting. The requirements is nationality, Latinos, age between 19 to 25, English level, basic, available to attend training. No experience in casinos is necessary. No
English
experience.
level has to be basic. You're dealing with a guy in this line, yeah?
Listen. I have something different I want to say about this particular thing.
Say it.
These people did not put an ad in the local newspaper. And then they went ahead to put that which I read there, in Spanish, right? So these people did not do that because they are importing labor. Let us put that one side. They're not importing labor, made them do this. They did this because they are acutely aware of the fact, and the man has been speaking about this, I spoke about this a bit myself, that in our country right now, the amount of persons that are living in Guyana currently that actually fits into what they're asking for is unprecedented.
Last evening again, I was down there buying bread from Bakewell. And when you bank Bakewell corner heading down North Road, you see that demographic.
Yeah, but it's there's not.
Manzi, we do not know the number.
It's an and. For the last 2 years, last year, I stood in the National Assembly when they passed this registration of births and deaths, and I said, guys, you're looking at it short term, but long term you are jeopardizing our national security. I'm happy to see Mr. Jerry Govaya, our national security advisor, has caught the train.
Finally.
Yeah, maybe too late.
Finally.
Because we have been saying to them all along, that this is going to be a problem. Now we have to understand that there was an exodus of Guyanese in the 90s to Venezuela.
Yes.
And that some of the people coming back are in fact second generation Guyanese whose parents went over there. So we have to draw a distinction. And in order to be able to draw a distinction, this government has to have in place a proper immigration policy. The truth is we can't have a problem with immigrants because so many of us, our family members have been immigrants in another land. But what you have to have as a government is a proper system that makes sure that your Guyanese citizens are protected, that their patrimony is protected. And so that being a citizen of Guyana gives me an edge. There ain't nothing wrong with giving your citizens an edge. But this government don't think that far. They're transactional and they know that we can just operate however, and we will not be held to account. One other point before I forget that Joretta makes about the numbers. That is the reason they don't want to clean the voters list.
The numbers.
Because the numbers will show that a certain demographic, and this is where people, we got to start sitting and we got to stop. We got to put emotions aside and study the numbers. The voters list being cleaned will show that a certain demographic has exited this country at an alarming rate. What the PPP has done is open Pandora's box, because you have now put lax requirements in our births and deaths law, so that a Toshao could say, yes, she born here and I'm getting a Guyana birth certificate. And in doing that, you have opened the entire Essequibo to come in and to be settled by people who may have nefarious motives.
You know, I'm happy to hear you say that, because coming out of the National Two Shows Conference over the last week, I heard that between the GRO's office and somebody else, they processed 1,000 birth certificates on the spot.
1,000 birth certificates on the spot. 5,000 or 7,000 votes is one seat in the National Assembly. Follow the numbers.
Interestingly, I brought up the Buxton experience where the ministers went and made several promises. They promised to take in GRA there, NIS, and a number of entities to help sort out some issues that our citizens have, whether Buxtonians or otherwise. Well, the Buxtonians still waiting. 1,000 birth certificates were processed. National Two Shows Conference.
And they will do it because they know that they will get away with it, and they know.
And you know one thing I'm struggling with? I don't think you had 1,000 people at the conference who didn't have birth certificate. It means you could have said, well, my daughter don't have one. And whether you were able to produce her on the spot, or they had a what do you call it, a JP to swear to, and then they get a birth certificate. That is troubling to me.
But and like we said, it opens the door to another issue. There will be no advantage to being a Guyanese. You go to the UAE.
As a matter of fact, it's a disadvantage.
UAE people can't get UAE citizenship.
It's a disadvantage.
Even if you are born there, if you're not born to a national, you don't get citizenship. This government has to stop being lazy. And they have to start being creative and coming down with proper solutions. But we know their problem and that they ain't got the capacity.
You know,
ask us who could help.
You're talking about that. It occurred to us again because of reporting we saw that when the Saudis were here, the big land offer that was made. If you're an embassy, we have land, and people were very upset about that. People who were waiting, they get a 2x4. Very upset about that. Coming out of the Vice News piece, we learned that Sue is one of the largest landowners in this country. And Sue, I don't know if Sue is naturalized.
Listen, you know, you have to, and this is why it's important.
Another story too.
Sue is not new to Guyana and the PPP. Sue's father.
Sue's been here a long time.
Father.
Generation of middlemen.
Sue is in the generational middleman business. Sue's father had a very close relationship with the PPP government in their 23-year iteration. So Sue is not new.
It makes me wonder if Sue is fronting as a landowner for somebody.
To Guyana, it is entirely possible.
Landowner? One of the largest?
Wow. Right? Now, I saw a letter from the Ministry of Housing, asking people to come to Providence.
Oh yes, I saw
$750,000
$750,000.
750,000 Guyana dollars.
Yeah.
So you want to tell them boys or everybody that going in this
Going
place?
in there, rob them. I mean, my God.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
even say you have to have a manager's check.
Mm-hmm.
They sell you walk with $750,000.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
We in
Wow.
trouble.
Wow. Last night I was telling you guys earlier, and I bought some bread. I saw about $750,000. And I asked the girl for 2 bags of tennis roll. You know, they got the 5 in the bag. 2 bags and a loaf of bread. I gave her $1,000. She gave me back $50.
No, because that is the cost of living.
She gave me back 50. That was a little.
People living in this country.
I didn't get back the change the last time, which means that I should have buy all the bread she had one time. If I had a little money, you know, I would have do that. You know, but we're in a bad place.
People said you are
We're in a bad
required
place.
to walk with a minimum
minimum deposit.
of approximately $750,000. This represents approximately 50% of the cost of the lot.
We have to ask ourselves, where the average guy?
I ain't see $750,000 in one place in a long time. In a long time. Yeah.
Kind of them,
Yeah.
moving forward.
He has all the support.
But the point is that this is where we are as a nation. And the point is, how long are we going to sit in this place as a nation and take this level of disrespect? You know?
Yeah.
And I want to tell you another thing that I find our people fall prey to. There's a place in politics for taking care of your own. An MP ought to take care of their constituency. There's no shame in that. Where I have a difficulty is when people are not able to see objectively when they're being used. I find even some people who don't traditionally support maybe the PPP go and say, yes, you know, you should take care of your own, and you see what the PPP doing, and you see what the fact is that if you share the patrimony of a nation to a selected group, it is wrong. If you doing it or if you doing it.
It's wrong.
And
Correct.
wrong is wrong.
Yeah.
And we have to, as a people, begin to take that stance. That wrong is wrong. If the AP and UFC was wrong for doing it, the PPPC must be wrong for doing it.
Correct.
And that is something that I find the PPP thrives on, right? Oppression is okay if I am doing it.
Correct.
Corruption is okay if our side benefit. Corruption is okay if their side benefit. You know?
Y'all should, you see, y'all chicken, y'all in teeth, and so on and so forth. And those are some of the comments that you hear. And that is not how you build a nation. You should give people money.
Not the chocolate from the supermarket.
No.
The hard truths. The hard truths.
But these are the mindsets that we are going to have to confront and break in our society if we are going to ever get to the level of the Barbados that we like to go and throw back at the beach, the levels of the other small islands that got none of the resources that we have.
Yeah. I think that's important. Amanda is absolutely correct. You know, we're responsible for the legacy that we leave behind. You know, we're responsible for the legacy that we leave behind. And yeah, a lot of times I read comments and so forth, and persons would ask stuff about Barnum and those things. That I'm responsible for the legacy that I leave behind. You know, I'm responsible for my words, my actions. And because of that, I know, and I can look at a lot of matters very dispassionately, especially when it comes to politics, when it comes to division of wealth and those things. You know, I always have to say, you can't look at a position of equality, and if you want to do something, you have to look at from a position of equity, give who needs more. You know, and all of those matters. But we, as new young leaders, political leaders, it's absolutely important for us to have this conversation that you're having right about now, to say you have to call a spade, regardless of where it comes from. You know,
them people don't call spade.
You
could
have
have Darmala talking about dildo, and who knew dildo in National Assembly. He would never be recommended for suspension. You could have got Kwame beating up on our female MPs. He would never be recommended for suspension. No. Those things don't happen. You could have Barjagnew be caught with the hands in the cookie jar. He'd never be, sent to the Privileges Committee. No. Fairness?
But
Justice is blind.
But
Mhm.
on the contrary, you have members of parliament who disrupt a sitting
Mhm.
that flew in the face of every democratic norm
Yeah.
there is, and they're
Yeah.
being suspended.
Yeah.
By God, I would wear that badge of suspension as a badge of honor.
Mhm.
Because you see now, why is it that we were being disruptive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
$40 billion come out of the Natural Resource Fund.
Recently,
Another 40
But
billion.
Guyanese cannot afford a bag of bread.
Yeah.
Another 40
yeah,
billion.
man,
Sugar off of the shelves. Local brown sugar off of the shelves.
and all the billions being poured in the guys to go. Rose all roof.
Who we name think we
Leaking.
fooling? Say it's not right.
Yeah.
That we got bags, 100.
We have bags. We don't have package.
Well, if you could carry
Says
750,000,
different. Says
We
different.
are Guyanese.
Yeah.
Since when you know we are averse to going and collect 100 thing of sugar and parting it off into 4 pound things. We have never been averse to that.
Says
we
different.
don't need the we call it the gold. What the blue packet name?
Demarco.
The Demerara
Yeah,
gold.
no.
The reality is that there is a shortage of sugar. And then the man goes to say
Mass has been
the
smuggled.
biggest indictment that is being smuggled.
Yeah.
It means
Not gold, not
borders
cocaine,
are
not
secure.
marijuana.
Yeah.
That is an admission.
That
of
is an
failure.
indictment. I don't see how, I don't know how he processed that particular
He
statement. I mean, before it came out to
Different.
say that our sugar is
Different.
being smuggled. Like, how did he process that, you know? I think he needs to be investigated for having information.
Well, you know,
of
God will
such.
call for him to be sacked, so.
Well, if God
Justified.
will call, I know God, if this is not an indication that these people don't care about nobody have done the elite, is the fact that Gao, one of their staunchest
Yeah.
supporting
Yeah.
unions,
Yeah.
is calling for this man to
Yeah.
be sent home and
Yeah.
they ain't budging.
Yeah.
What else do you
Yeah.
need?
If
know
I'm not a
that they
poor
will
guy, who
take?
president
Listen
and
to
station
this.
embarrassing?
But the corruption is real, right, guys? Listen, the corruption is real.
That's all it is.
Gahu can't call for the government to remove cease when Gahu's the head of Gahu is the government.
Yeah.
No, but they have
Who is he calling on?
himself. He is consulted. No, but we have to give
Craziness.
it
Mhm.
the acknowledgement.
Let's look
that it
at
deserves.
let's give it a facade
That
of
he was-
representation
no, but he
that
was
it should have.
courageous.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, he was
Yeah.
courageous enough to say,
Yeah.
look, and it showed a glimmer of hope that
Yeah.
maybe I can go against the establishment to say, because he understands that his constituents are punishing.
And how was he?
Yeah.
What was he met with?
Successful.
Listen, what he met with is
Compensate.
go up. Say
Compensate.
you take your seat. You take your seat.
Right?
Compensate. Did we have heavy rainfalls? No. Answer the question. Did we have heavy rainfall? Don't answer.
We
Don't
had,
answer.
but he said, but you know, we had heavy rainfall before. No. That's not what I'm looking for.
Wow.
Yeah, and,
What a
and-
country.
and this is where we are. And we gotta keep saying to the people that
There's an alternative.
there's an
There's better.
alternative.
Mm.
Better is possible, and we have to start demanding more. The people of Sri Lanka have done it.
Mm-hmm.
The people of Suriname
Yeah.
are doing it,
Yeah.
and we as Guyanese
Yeah.
have to resist the
Go 10 by 3.
to twiddle with thumbs and
Yeah.
complain about this whole day and not do anything about it.
Yeah.
Correct. Sri Lanka, in particular, had there was one bit that came. I don't know if I mentioned it here before, but I'm going to say it now. That the current the PPI administration, as is, they want to push forward and they want to drive fear because that's how they operate. They know psychological warfare. That's how they operate. That's what they know. So they make it in such a way that people are afraid to go out and say anything. And I want to make the point that in Sri Lanka, the protesters there, one of the things that they were calling for, should be of particular interest to us here. They were calling for the release of political prisoners. That's one of the things that those protesters were calling for also. They wanted the release of what they deemed to be, who they deemed to be political prisoners over there. And it just goes to show that the government over there went so far as to imprison persons that were talking against what they were doing, because they wanted to drive that fear. A lot of countries, you would see any government that operates in a dictatorial fashion does that. It uses the institutions that should be for providing law and order and those things to have political motives. They guide them every step, and because of that, they take political prisoners. But I think you should I think that particular point needs to resonate here in the minds of the administration of the day, the PPP, that even though they imprison persons for speaking up against them, even though they did that, right now, that president had to flee the country because the people still decide that enough was enough.
Yeah, that's what
they still decided enough was enough.
So when are we going to decide that enough is enough?
I'm right there.
I mean, when are we going to decide that enough is enough? I sit and very often I see, what the opposition doing, what is doing. The reality is, and we have to understand that any struggle has to be multi-sectoral.
Mm-hmm.
For the life of me, I cannot understand why we are not hearing from the Public Service Union.
Mm-hmm.
We have to arise from this sleep and slumber that we are in. Where are the churches?
Maybe them boys get
buyout. What are they saying? 31 opposition MPs cannot do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Civil society has a role to play.
Yep.
The labor unions more so have a role to play.
Yep.
Are you not hearing from them?
Agreed.
The public sector, the public service, has the ability to strike such a blow at the heart of government and the turning of the wheels of this country that they should be respected more. But their gatekeepers need to account for why is it that there is such inactivity. For why is it that your public servants can't afford a bread? But some of you are flying around this country, flying around the world on first class tickets on their union dues. Let's talk about that. Let us talk about those things. Because it ticks me off that we continue to subject ourselves to less, that we continue to live in subhuman conditions. But what are we? What are we? Are we human?
All are involved. And all are consumed.
Are we not human beings?
All involved, all consumed.
Man, I'm sorry to get worked up on the first day of my return.
But folks, this will have to do it for us this morning because we're past program time. We're heading on to half hour into the overtime. But folks, we're happy that you stayed with us. Simone Hooper and Florette Jacobs Ward, Desiree Smart, Felix, Marlon Thomas. Yep, some of the folks who've joined us, and we're so grateful. Good to have you folks with us. Margaret Nelson. I see Marlon Thomas talking about the GPSU. Non-functional.
Non-functional. And public servants get up every day. Raining 8 o'clock and they're there with the umbrella. Trudging through flooded streets. And the union is silent. But as we program time, we can talk about it another day. It's ridiculous.
It's more than ridiculous. It's more than ridiculous.
Do you find what goes to you? Or should we give us a man?
No, Jury.
I see
smash the emoji button.
Yabo Natasha Congreve is here. I'm very late. Definitely this morning, but it's always good to have you. We may have to go and look back at the program.
It's gonna be there. It's gonna be out there.
A lot we have discussed
it's gonna be there
this morning. But Alison Richards and you guys, all of you out there, make sure that you do your part and share the stream. Absolutely necessary that the information is spread throughout of the country. We have a lot to discuss. But when we're looking at the overarching issue that we dealt with today, justice not blind in Guyana, and we are seeing this every single day. Call it out, and I am going to ask everybody to make sure that you call it out. We have to do our part. We continue to do our part every single day. You see us here every day. We're doing our part every single day, on and off here. And we have to say that we appreciate all of the information sharing that has been done on your side. And also we encourage you to do your part and partnering with us so that we could continue to bring you credible information.
Yep. That's it. We on Zelle, PayPal, Cash App. You name it, MMG, MoneyGram, Western Union. Party with us, folks. Stay safe.
We there.
We there. That's the time, guys.
Have a good
That's
morning,
our time.
guys.
Stay safe.